So let's get started. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for today's third Thursday virtual program. My name is Lauren Burnham, and I'm the Assistant Director here at the American Swedish Historical Museum in Philadelphia. We are thrilled to bring you this year-long series of virtual tours to mark the museum's 100th anniversary. Our goal is to provide virtual learning opportunities to celebrate the centennial with our long-distance community. Today, we are honored to work with our partners at SEAMAAC to host a virtual exhibition tour of Indivisible Stories of Stregnth. The exhibition is curated by SEAMAAC and made possible with lead grant support from the William Penn Foundation. The exhibit showcases collaborative art pieces created by teaching artists and artists from SEAMAAC's art resiliency workshops. This installment builds on our first partner exhibition with SEAMAAC from the spring of 2025 through the eyes of Philadelphia's new Americans, art, resilience, and community. A few housekeeping things before I introduce the SEAMAAC team. Today's lecture is being recorded and will be publicly available on the American Swedish Historical Museum and SEAMAAC's YouTube channel in the coming week. We ask that everyone please remain on mute during the talk to minimize background noise. If you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat and we'll read them aloud at the end. We'll also leave time for people to ask live questions and unmute. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Will Duncan, Operations Coordinator at SEAMAAC. Thank you. Will?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Lauren, for introducing me. My name is Will Dunford. I'm the Operations Coordinator at SEAMAAC. I am joined today by my colleagues T. Lamb, Eugenio Salas, and Donna Backues, and we are excited to present our virtual tour today. So without further ado, I will share my screen and begin the video. Can everyone see this title screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. So to start, this exhibition is entitled Indivisible Stories of Stregnth, and it seeks to explore identity and culture among Native and immigrant Philadelphians. This installment builds on, as mentioned, our first partner exhibition with the ASHM from the spring of 2025, which was entitled Through the Eyes of Philadelphia's New Americans, Art, Resilience, and Community. The title was chosen because it reaffirms the immigrant experience and ranges from recent immigrants to second, third, and fourth generation descendants of immigrants as a core American story and one that continues to evolve. By building lasting relationships with communities and co-creating meaningful exhibitions, the ASHM and SEAMAAC create a replicable model of inclusive practice, one that strengthens civic trust, cultural pride, and community cohesion. As you watch the virtual tour today, you will see art mediums from that include collage, ceramics, mosaics, and photography, which were created during SEAMAAC's art resiliency workshops, led by artists Donna Backues, Rena Fruchter, Eugenio Salas, Marguerita Hagan, and Shira Walinsky. This exhibition includes content and narrative from historically marginalized communities who have felt neglected and excluded from the national discourse on art, culture, inclusion, and diversity. These include Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities and the disability community, as well as descendants of European immigrants. As you enter the space, this is our title screen, Indivisible Stories of Stregnth. So please sit back and enjoy. The runtime for this video is roughly 33 minutes. It will just run continuously. Lauren will be available in the chat to answer questions, and we will have time at the end for all questions. I do recommend adjusting your audio. Some of the videos are a little bit quieter than others. I will do my best to adjust it as well as we watch the video, but you may have to increase or decrease your volume as we watch. So thank you and enjoy.
Hi, my name is Donna Backues. I'm the coordinator of Community and Family Wellness at SEAMAAC. I've been with SEAMAAC for about 10 years. And this project, this program was started about 2018. I started classes myself teaching, and then I started hiring teaching artists. And the program grew, and we have many students. And here we are, we have this exhibit, and it's very exciting. I chose collage as the project that I'm doing for this particular exhibit, and I chose it because it's very accessible. It's something I don't have to plan a lot for, so while I'm coordinating the program and all the teachers and everything else, I can also teach, which I love. And the students don't have to be good at art or experienced at art to start the class. They sort of get immediate results with collage. I make them choose from stacks of magazines, decorative papers, really anything that's easy to glue on cradled board. And then while they're choosing, I tell them to just trust their feelings, trust their own heart. While they're looking at something, don't think too hard. Just start grabbing things that capture their attention. And then they start gluing, and then from there, I'm able to teach things like color theory, composition, and then we add paint as well. And there's an awful lot of layering, a lot of changing, until they come up with a beautiful result. And I also like the metaphorical aspect of collage because I feel it does mirror life with, putting together so many different fragments, creating something beautiful with what you have available. It's like, we don't necessarily choose how we come into this world, and we make use of what is available, and we can make something beautiful from that. And also just the fact that it's limited to what we have in the space. Sometimes those limitations can be great because it can create more creativity. So, yeah, I think it's a great medium for introducing people to art. So the reason we do these art classes is because it's a great way to build resiliency. With the way you build resiliency and become stronger to face issues in life that are difficult is you need to be connected to other people. You need to learn and keep learning new things. You need to create something. You need to be creative in some way. There are many different ways, but it's been proven that making art can be very healing, very powerful. And it can give people hope for the future and also make them think in different ways. It just sort of kind of shifts your way of thinking and think of new possibilities. And I often tell my students, you want to fail because that's how you learn. In art, it's all about failure. Each piece you do will train you for the next piece that you're going to do. You learn from it, and you continue to grow. And so in my classes, I try not to put much pressure. There's no pressure at all. And in the beginning, if someone is new, they're often very hesitant. What do I do now? What do I do next? And some of the artists have been in my program for many years. They just come in, and it's a workshop environment. And so when new people come in, they see all of these other workers. In fact, they come too early. They're often there even before the class starts, and they're already setting up because they're so eager. And that enthusiasm is contagious. And so it makes the new people that come in excited, sort of, oh, maybe I'll be able to get there. And I will say, they were just like you when they first started. Eventually you'll be able to do this and feel confident. And then the other older artists will help the younger ones. So even though there's many different languages, and many of our artists do not speak English, just a little bit, they still find ways of helping each other. So that's another thing I like about art. You don't need a lot of words. It's a lot of me showing, or others helping others, showing them how to do things. And it's also a way of learning English better. I've noticed that some of our artists, their English has gotten a little bit better because I will speak to them in English if I don't know their language, and while I'm showing them. So there's many different things, good things that come about from these classes.
Hi, my name is Rena Fruchter, and I'm a relatively new resident in South Philadelphia. My husband and I moved here from Maryland right before the pandemic. And for years, I've been a professional art teacher, grades K through 12. And when we moved here, I was not about to give up my love of teaching and doing art with other people. So when I met Donna from SEAMAAC, just through my daughter as a friend, and found out that she had the resiliency program and needed artists to work with the students, with the clients of SEAMAAC, I was thrilled. One thing that I really love in my art experience is the art of mosaic. Mosaic is the art of putting together many different pieces, many different tesserae, as they're called, together in a way that pieces that you didn't necessarily think fit together in a new way. To me, that sounded like just what an immigrant needs to go through in order to make a new life. So it was mosaics that I brought initially to SEAMAAC. I enjoy teaching people the skills. It's a brand new tool to so many people. I needed to teach them safety. We're working with glass and with tile and ceramic. We're working with broken pieces, and so we work with gloves and with goggles or masks. And then there's the idea of choice. So something about what I do with mosaics is it really has me bringing a lot of materials to my students in order that they have a wide variety of choice. So I filled the room that the people were working in with so many different things that had to be inspiring to them and exciting, which allowed them to begin to make choices. Some people prefer to work from just the placing of the materials of the tesserae next to each other to see how they might fit, not really with a plan, but enjoying the way each piece fits next to each other. That is more abstract. Other people are more comfortable starting with a sketch, and that allows them to then make choices to fill their sketch concept in with the tesserae to do their design. In this project, we dealt with what we call reflections of beauty. A mirror is about reflections. Reflections are about not only what we see, but reflecting on how we feel and what we do see in the mirror, what it brings us to think about. In this project, the artists were tasked with designing the mosaic frame around a mirror. And what happened is that people were very anxious to create designs that would inspire happiness when they looked in the mirror. I can understand that because there are times when I look in the mirror and see perhaps something that I don't want to see. And by putting beauty around that reflection, I can move forward. This project is grouted as well. If you'll notice, the white grout is around all the small pieces of tesserae. The tesserae, or the tiles and glass that were used, have been cut to shape, and they sit close to each other, but leaving enough space in between them to allow for the grout to come through. Here we are at the human machine. We work together. And the SEAMAAC art experiences with me, I try to make it a point that we do work together. Even if we're doing individual projects, How do they fit together? How will they display together? And even just in the interaction between the artists, we learn how our piece becomes better when we learn from others. In this piece of art, The Human Machine, each of the artists created a wooden gear using the myriad of materials that I brought to the class. We see the beads and the glass and the tiles and the ceramic pieces, things that would look good in a rotation. At the end of creating the mosaic gears, all of the artists together figured out how to place them on the board so that they would work together like a machine, and the gears with the teeth fitting together. We are not rotating it here because they're very fragile. In order to identify their work on this collaborative project, each artist created a leaf. The leaf, the natural feeling to our machine, gives the feeling that yes, we are a machine, but this is the machine of humanity. This is the machine of living people, and we should be treating each other as if we were people working together and not simply a machine.
Hi, my name is Eugenio Salas, and I currently live in Philadelphia. My work as an artist is based on processes and participation. As a performance artist, I'm interested in collaborating with non-artists and artists to create platforms for collaboration and to improvise ways of engaging with materials, creating aesthetics, but also dealing with our own realities and the context in which we live. My work responds to the experiences and the context of living, in this case, in South Philadelphia, and that's where I work at SEAMAAC. As a digital navigator, and one of the barriers that I see from our clients is the lack of access to the tools that we use, and especially smartphones. And so that was the idea, to engage in with elders to create ways of document their realities and their experiences as immigrants utilizing smartphones. But under this premise, came up with the idea of creating a storytelling narrative in which elders would learn how to use their phones with more intentionality and applying all the principles into creating ways to document their lives, their houses, their objects, and the ways in which they engage in South Philadelphia. So let's look at the art. Here we have this photo-based installation called Between Here and Home. This body of work is the outcome of a participatory smart photography workshop with elders. The prompts for this workshop was to document their lives while learning the principles of photography and applying the technical specs from each phone. Embracing the technology and the different aspect ratios and the different ways in which smartphones create images. So this photo installation functions as a community archive that talks about the lives of immigrant elders and like the objects and the landscape, the current landscape in Philadelphia, and how they engage with each other, learning and being in community together. I was interested in engaging with elders with the idea of offering another form of communication, which is art, to come up with ways to represent themselves and also to document and create records that speak about themselves, know of themselves. As I mentioned before, my work is about creating records or creating inputs in collaboration with the subjects, and it's not about the subjects. The work itself was to learn about using photography, but also applying principles of collaboration, learning how to be in front of the camera and behind the camera. Behind me we have Scrolling Through Life, a double-sided photo series of portraits in which on one side the participants of the workshop, they portray themselves and their community members as a collective exercise during one of the elder engagements. On the other side, there are individual records that everybody took from during the class. So the installation can be seen as a way we scroll phones by walking back and forth. The closer to we get to the pictures, the less we see. It's an installation that requires the public to engage in taking some distance to see the perspective and the context as a collective. So the idea behind this double-sided series of photographs was to think about the idea of how do we portray ourselves, or how do we get portrayed as immigrants, and this idea of like we get flattened by one of the dimensions, and we hold many dimensions, and the idea was to create this double-sided photograph in which the audiences have to move in different ways to engage with the work itself, and the individual records, the photographs of the round objects was part of the exercises to think about like the forms and the shapes and the aesthetics that exist within our own realities, and how these round shapes can create a series of round photographs. So the participants engaged with the art in many ways. One way was to collectively take the photographs during one of the elders' engagements, and as a photographers, they became aware of the importance of posing in front of the camera. So they didn't not only apply the technical concepts of taking photographs and portraits with good light conditions and the right format for the photograph for the phones, but also they learned how to engage with subjects and make them feel comfortable, and find ways in which people feel comfortable themselves expressing with their bodies, with their outfits. So it was a very performative exercise of seeing other people and also be seen by other community members that are part of the larger community. I decided to mount the photographs like this, thinking of the students themselves, because I wanted to highlight the ways in which photography can live outside traditional forms of a square in a frame on a wall, and thinking through like ways in which show the students in a physical space how the photographs can live outside their phones and can be arranged in different ways to create different meanings. So when I'm doing this, I'm thinking of the immediate audience. Of course, the audience of the museum, it's something that I'm thinking through, but I'm very interested in how engaging with the participants that were part of the piece as an immediate audience to complete the intention of the project, which was to learn about the concept of photography, but also how photography can occupy a space.
Hi, my name is Shira Walinsky, and I'm so happy to be here today to talk about work in this show. My background is that of a muralist. I have about 40 murals in the city of Philadelphia. Most of them focus on creating a sense of home, welcoming, and belonging. And I've worked with many immigrant communities over the past 14 years, and it's work that I deeply love and hope to continue. My first project with SEAMAAC was a mural called Rooting for You, and it's located at 8th and Wolf, and it explores the stories and spaces of South Philly. I love working with SEAMAAC. I was invited to continue work with them when Donna Backues asked me if I wanted to come on as a teaching artist. And I've done printmaking classes with her and the incredible elders community of SEAMAAC, and it's been a great experience. The classes are spaces of joy, of learning, of a chance to reflect on life, dreams, and create something beautiful. I'm here today to talk about the mural behind me, created with the SEAMAAC staff. And it was a really wonderful process to be part of. I was I felt a great sense of responsibility when asked to come on and create this mural, because it involved personal stories of staff and their immigrant stories. And so my goal was to create a space to dream, to reflect on their life stories. How did we do this? We did this through an initial, maybe a 4-hour workshop with collage, where I said, just map your life however you want and use the materials that I brought in, or use family photos. Many people brought in family photos. We had maps. We had other kinds of imagery to inspire. And it was a really wonderful space that day in the room, again, to dream into how you want to think about your life and do that in a visual form. Okay, hi. So I'm here today to talk about Where Our Journeys Meet, this mural which is behind me. It's a mural that was created in collaboration with SEAMAAC staff. The process was using collage to respond to the question, map your life story, map the points that are meaningful in your immigration story, your refugee story. And it was generated through a workshop, which was a powerful experience. It was maybe a 4-hour workshop, which provided the space for staff to reflect on their life, their dreams, and create a visual response to that. I felt a great sense of responsibility to try to honor these stories, a sense of privilege to be there, and really humbled by these stories of courage. We're here in South Philadelphia, which has been the home to immigrant and refugee communities for many, many years. My grandfather, my grandparents, they were first generation. This is where they started. I feel a deep connection to these stories. So behind us, you see an example of how to pull from the collages. This was the story of Backues. This was her hometown in Burma, burned by the military government. On the other side, you see her 2 children in between Burma and Malaysia. So some of, the mural shows the difficulties, it shows the courage, it shows the resilience, and it has a great sense of movement in it. Behind us is the world map. Below us are clouds from Indonesian textile and the Indonesian wing. I love the metaphor of of flight in the mural. Behind me here is Sahar's parents, and you see family, love, happiness coming directly from her collage. Sahar is from Nepal. You also see little baby Sahar in Kathmandu. And again, this is her parents' wedding picture. So as an artist, I felt, again, so honored to be able to try to take these stories and create a collective. Resilient, restart, and homesick. So both, again, the courage, the resilience, and the difficulty in leaving everything, leaving your home country, and starting life anew in the United States. This was from Mia over here. This was from Grace. Born in China, or you could read it Born in Water, born in Vietnam. The mural is about specific stories, but in the end, it has to allude to other stories that the viewer will create and associations that a viewer creates. Over here is a picture of baby 2. This was his first picture in the United States. His family came from Vietnam, and they were at an airport in Denver, and a stranger just said, "Let me take your picture." So again, in the end, I feel very, very lucky to work on this mural. It was a powerful experience, and one in which I felt very, a sense of connection through these personal stories. Hi, this is Shira Walinsky talking about the project Building Home behind me here. It was created in a printmaking class at SEAMAAC, and I had the opportunity to work with a wonderful elders group. And I love printmaking because it's just such a direct medium. In a way, it simplifies things and it makes everything bold and graphic, and I love that. It's also a kind of a magical process where you carve your block and then you put the ink down, and it's always a bit of a surprise when you lift off the paper. And I felt that surprise in the class, the excitement around the process of printmaking. And in terms of the theme, the theme are the building blocks of home. And participants were asked to choose a word: love, home, courage, peace, and then have the word in English, have the word in their native language, and then come up with a symbol for that word. And I love how connected they are and yet how individual. And the bold kind of color, the pink, the red, there's a warmth in the design as a whole. The repeated lotus, which seemed to reemerge, which I also is a beautiful symbol, powerful symbol. So I hope everyone can take a closer look at building home.
My name is Marguerita Hagan, and I'm an artist based in Philadelphia and a lifelong ceramicist and an activist for mutually sustainable, thriving communities and environments. Interdependence is a rhythm of my practice in my sculpture, teaching, and community arts. Donna Backues invited me to teach ceramics in the resiliency program about 4 years ago, and I'm so honored to work with the immigrant artists and the program that creates a beautiful space for healing, joy, friendship, and transformation. In preparing for this exhibit, the classes and the 2 projects that are in this exhibit, we knew the theme, Indivisible Stories of Stregnth, and the exhibit celebrating the 250th anniversary of our country. So this was really helpful, and we designed the art and the installation specifically for the exhibit. I invited the artists to sculpt their visions in the form of works approximately the size of the human heart that are behind me, and named E Pluribus Unum, which is from the many we are one, and as our nation's motto proclaims, we are one family, and we are greater the diversity, the greater the strength, and richer that we are and our community. So I've been working in clay all of my life. It's been such an incredible teacher for me, and it's like each piece that you sculpt is like the shaping the art of your life. And this is something that's been really a great guide in my life, and I share with my projects and my students. And with these, our immigrant artists here, starting a new life in Philadelphia, and focusing on, with these hearts, it's like what their visions are and what they feel in their heart they want to realize. So the hearts each speak to that for each individual artist, and they are all connected by the streaming statements that unify these hearts in the 6 languages that were spoken in the class. The installation design is inspired by the sacred geometry symbol, the flower of life, which embodies the sacred feminine, which is the cycle of creation, unity, and the blueprint of the universe. So no better time than now to be celebrating the 250th anniversary of our nation with this motto, E Pluribus Unum, from the many we are one, which proclaims that we are one human family, and the greater the diversity, the richer and the stronger we and our community are. So we'll take a closer look at a few of these hearts. In the center is Boreas, which has such a profound message. We are still here and will remain here. Our story is the story of the olive tree. Eva's heart with the tree. A tree is life. The heart is also life. For a farmer, if the tree is fertile, the yield that can be enjoyed is a form of life. And over here, I feel happy, like a flower blooming in my heart. Infinite resiliency is the title of this piece. All the works was made individually by the artist, and I chose hands and the hearts for about feeling your dreams in your heart and then creating them in your life. And we are never alone in the spirit of interdependence. So I had originally seen that this would be individual works that were connected in the infinity, and I wanted to alternate the hands. On the palm of the hands is a square of gold leaf that shows the love that we all share, and together we are much stronger as a unified community. The work was made at SEAMAAC. I brought the ceramic studio to the class, and then after the work was made in wet clay, I took it back to the studio to fire it in the first firing for a bisque firing, and brought it back for the colors to be painted on with underglazes, and then they were covered with a clear glaze and fired again. And then the final firing was a luster firing for the gold, the mother of pearl, and the silver. In the glaze firing, I fused securely together the three sections of the infinity that would fit each on a kiln, in my kiln on a different shelf. So then for the installation, I epoxied them into the 5 by 2 foot infinity to be suspended and mounted on the pedestal.
Thank you so much, Will, and thank you to all of the artists for coming into the museum to celebrate their work, to make this available for everyone virtually across the country, across the whole world, hopefully, and that we have a way to preserve this amazing exhibition. So yeah, I'd like to turn it over to Will or T. We can also, I don't see any questions in chat right now, but if anyone has any comments, any questions, we're happy to take those.
Thank you, Lauren. I just want to give this opportunity for Donna, Eugenio, and Margarita to introduce themselves again and say hi if they would like, and then we can open up for questions if anyone would like to type in the chat or come off mute and ask the artists, teaching artists themselves.
I can introduce myself again, Donna Backues, coordinator of community and family wellness at SEAMAAC. And I've been with SEAMAAC for, I guess it's going on 10 years now.
I'm Marguerita Hagan. I'm so glad to have all of y'all with us, and those watching live and those watching the recording. This really took a village, and I'm deeply grateful to T. Lamb and Lauren Burnham for leading the process of this exhibit with incredible help behind the scenes from Will Dunham and Dunford and Ellie Gorman, as well as Donna's amazing work at all levels, especially with the translations, and Brett, our curator. Thank you for all the work you did, heart and soul, and Toy Nguyen and Tracy Beck for backing the whole project. Big thanks to William Penn for the funding of this beautiful project and allowing it to grow.
Hi, everybody. My name is Eugenio Salas, and I'm a performance artist, and I work at SEAMAAC, the Digital Navigation Department. And so happy to answer your questions.
See that we have one question from Anne in the chat. I think Donna, you would be best suited to answer this. Were the same students in each of the different classes?
Yes, there were some overlap, but we also had students that just were in just one of the classes, especially with the photography. We had a lot of men in the photography class, right, Eugenio, compared to our other classes. We don't have a lot of men.
True.
Not really sure why. I hope that answered it.
Thank you. We do have another question from Teodora. Thank you for your presentation. Could you share how would the immigrant artists participating in this project continue to express their stories through art and engage with the communities for sharing more stories? Donna or T, do you want to take this one?
Could you say that one more time? I got a little confused.
Could you share how the immigrant artists participating in this project would continue to express their stories through art and engage their communities for sharing more stories? So, how I think it's asking how do they continue to share their art stories after this exhibit?
I think so. What I noticed is that a lot of the artists I've known for, I think it's been going on 8 years that this project started. It started out very small, and a lot of the artists were very shy about their work and quite hesitant. And it's taken a while for them to feel confident. And I think, and they also spread the news, I'd say, they wanted other people to know about it. And so it grew. I think if I'm remembering the question is like, how do they continue to share? I think that's it. I think what I see happening is they become closer to one another. They share more about their lives as they're doing their art, not only with each other, with me. I feel like the artwork has been sort of like a window into their lives for us to learn more about them, and for them to be more confident about speaking about their life experience. I think that's.
And then I can chime in. Well, I will say that Theodore, the artists that we are working with, they have been through many of SEAMAAC's programs. And Donna, I think Marguerita and Eugenio can probably touch on that a little bit. But these are stories that involve a lot of personal struggles, or they're stories that involve a lot of trauma that we as kind of caretakers and custodians of their work and their lives had to be a little bit cautious of. I think sharing their stories, what you're seeing reflected is a culmination of kind of their stories throughout their entire lives. There's a lot of work in the behind the scenes when you're asking somebody to share. So we first, for the past, I think like 20 years, have just been able to finally pull and put a lot of their work and their stories into a canvas or onto a canvas. The next series, I think what wasn't shown because we're still piloting it, is a video series where we have individuals who are part of the communities tell their stories. So our hope is outside of kind of the Vice Wellness Center where we do a lot of our work, there is a gallery wall. A lot of their works are currently being presented there. So once it's off of the walls at the American Swedish Historical Museum, it's going to go back to either their homes or to the gallery wall at our Health and Social Service Center. Our hope is, in addition to that, is that the next installations, we will have more video testimonials by the individuals artists themselves to explain their own artwork. So there is a series that we're going through we just feel that it is time to really elevate these stories. However, we are very careful to make sure that the individuals, artists themselves, don't feel that we are extrapolating their stories without their permission.
Thank you, Donna and T. I would also like to mention that the resiliency art classes are still going on. They are a continuous project, and we will have another art exhibit next year with the artists. So we will have a completely new set of art to showcase in the next year. We have another question from Anne. How did the teachers communicate with the students? It appears that the communications was clear despite the language differences.
Well, so we often have interns that can speak Chinese or Spanish, or Mandarin and Spanish. I speak Indonesian. Sometimes our Burmese outreach worker will join in to help out. But it can sometimes I can probably say the same for Marguerita and the rest of the teachers. There are times when I have mostly Chinese and Vietnamese, and I can't speak that, and I have nobody to help me. And so you just kind of make do. Sometimes if I have to communicate something very specific, I'll use Google Translate, which is not always great on my phone. But we sort of all work together. So sometimes there's students that can speak a little bit of Vietnamese as well as Mandarin. So there's a lot of kind of coordinating together. Sometimes a lot of laughter over it. Sometimes I have to be very dramatic in trying to explain something, but we manage.
We do. And art is a universal language, and we use a lot of, in visual art, we find all sorts of resourceful and creative ways to communicate. And there are some of our artists in the class that can speak a few of these languages. Like May really helps out the Indonesian, but she speaks Chinese. So we all, like Donna says, we definitely work together. It's definitely takes a village. I just want to thank also the installation of the Infinity was a really significant one, and quite significant in engineering and physics and my history of this kind of work. And I'm so grateful for Brett and Will, and Donna was there supporting, and Lauren installing the Infinity. It was a great team from SEAMAAC and from the Swedish Museum, as well as my daughter, who's a professional art installer, came from New York, that really helped to navigate the rigging to suspend the ceramic from 12 feet above. But I'm really grateful for everybody. The photos of the installation are really, really fun and pretty magical because there are so many hands holding the hands. Anyway, thank you to everybody for that help.
I will also add that when it comes to language competency, Donna's department alone in the Health and Social Service Department serves 54 different language groups from 75 different countries on an annual basis. So outside of the art workshops, the team is very well versed with dealing with all sorts of language groups. So we just, in the planning phase, we also are cognizant of the fact that can these courses be taught without a language component? The other things that we also want to make sure is that if you note in a lot of our program description, Will runs his program based on translations to 12 different language groups as a minimum. All of the language groups that were represented by the artists were translated so that when they see their artwork, that they can read it and they can understand it themselves personally, especially when they have their friends and family come and visit the exhibit as well.
And I just want to mention something that I think we all are responding of this DIY strategy to engaging with non-English natives. And this pretty much highlights the lack of resources that we have as an art instructors to have curricula or materials that are available and accessible for students and ourselves. So I think this should be a larger conversation of like the need of our instructors to rely on resources that are available and accessible for communities who speak non-English.
Thank you. We have another question from Darlene. Are there any plans or discussions of installing this in another venue in Philly, like maybe at City Hall or the Bach Building? I can answer half of that. At our Health and Social Service Department does work out of the Vice Wellness Center, which is located in the Bach Building. The entrance is on 8th and Mifflin Street on 8th Street. And we do showcase the artwork on the hallway leading to the SEAMAAC offices. So there's some currently art there from our previous exhibit, and we will add more art as this exhibit comes to an end. But for future installments at other locations, that is largely dependent on funding. So this exhibit was funded primarily from the William Penn Foundation. So any other installation would require additional funding from another grant. Does anyone have anything else to add?
I do want to give kudos to the team. So I will say, Tracy, Brett, and Lauren, who's on the call today, most exhibits are works that require at least 2 years of preparation. We were able to do this in less than 6 months. We promised the artists and Donna and the rest of the team that we will give them at least a year's notice before the next one. So as you can see, there is plan for a future. It's just, it won't be as rapid. So it'll be a little bit more thought out. We'll try our best to find some additional resources and make sure that we take anything that we learned from this past exhibit and expand it a little bit more.
I think we're getting better, though. I think we've improved even from the first exhibit we had. So the next one's going to be even better.
Will, can I just jump in for a second? I would love to invite T and Tracy to speak to a little bit of the why of this exhibit. Why this topic? Why is it here? And why is this important?
Sure, I'm happy to jump in. Thanks, Lauren. The American Swedish Historical Museum was really founded by Swedish American immigrants to tell the story of what they were able to achieve and do in America. And over our 100-year history, our mission has kind of evolved and changed a little bit. And over the last 10 years, I'd say, we've really wanted to allow the opportunity for other immigrant groups to tell their own stories in our space. We are in one of the most diverse parks in Philadelphia. The people who are in the park every day are from so many different countries and traditions. And so we decided to start working with partner organizations that could help us with telling those stories. And SEAMAAC is the first partner we've worked with in this capacity, and they've been absolutely fantastic.
And I think even without the funding to the Swedish Museum's testament in terms of their impact and also their commitment, the first exhibit was done out of a labor of love. It wasn't fully funded. We had approached a couple of funders, and we said we're going to do it without funding. And that's kind of like the start of our partnership. We had also discussed the demographic of the folks that use the museum. Where the American Swedish Historical Museum sits, it's kind of like right center at the entrance of FDR Park. And I think it was notable, especially during the pandemic when green space became prime real estate and folks really wanted to go out there. We also noted that the Horticultural Society had done the flower show. So the amount of people that was visiting the park had just grew exponentially. There was still some hesitation from the refugee and immigrant communities that were using the park about how approachable the museum was. And I think that began the conversation of let's install something that is representative of the people that actually use the park currently and make the museum a little bit more accessible.
Thank you. We do have a question from Edna. Are the students able to share the artwork, stories, and exhibition with their relatives and friends? Yes. So this video will be available on both the ASHM and SEAMAAC's YouTube pages. We will have the individual artist videos, the compilation video, as well as the entire recording of this Zoom meeting. We also have the Culture Connect, courtesy of the museum, that has the descriptions of all of the installations in all 6 of the languages spoken by the artists themselves. We also have an upcoming free community day on Sunday, March 8th from 12 to 4 p.m. So relatives, friends, family can come. We'll have some art activities for everyone, some food and drink vendors, and it will be a free community day, so there will be no barriers to entry.
Yeah, and with regards to Culture Connect, I did actually post the link to the site. You can see it in the chat. With this link, the artists and really anybody can send the gallery guide to anybody across the world, which is really, really cool. And it does show, process images and, as Will mentioned, the translated text in 6 different languages.
And Brett, this was done just in time for this exhibit, correct?
Yeah, it's an incredible tool. It's one that I've used in the past, but the language function is absolutely incredible. And kudos to Will, T, Donna, and your entire team for doing these translations. It's an amazing, amazing tool and an amazing resource.
So we only have about 2 minutes left before 1 p.m. I do want to be cognizant of everyone's time. If there are any other questions, we will follow up after the meeting with some additional resources on how to contact either people at SEAMAAC or at the museum. And I see that Theodora also wanted to connect as a partner for language access and refugee affairs. So we can definitely connect after the meeting. But if there are any other questions, now would be a good time to ask. And otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Lauren to close the session.
All right, you're also invited to unmute if you would like to participate in the conversation and ask a question live. We definitely welcome that as well. All right, I think we really gave everyone a wonderful opportunity to both see the exhibit and hear the stories behind the exhibit. So I'm very glad that we could do this today. I just want to again thank you so much. Thank you SEAMAAC. Thank you ASHM staff. Thank you William Penn Foundation for making all of this possible. We again just want to open the museum doors wide and have everyone be able to enjoy this exhibit. I did post in the chat links to the events page and Brett posted Culture Connect, so you can definitely follow up there as well.
I forgot to thank Ellie. She's on the call.
Yes, absolutely, Ellie. We couldn't have done it without Ellie. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So yeah, our contact information is also in chat. If you're interested in learning more about supporting SEAMAAC's direct service initiatives or becoming an ASHM member or ways to support ASHM during our 100th anniversary, please feel free to reach out to any of us, and we're happy to connect with the community. So thank you for taking the time today, and we will see you at our next third Thursday virtual program. Thank you.
Thank you.